Welcome back to another episode of Sassy AF TV. I'm Hallie Avolio with Sassy Healthy Fit, and I'm so excited to be here today with my guest, Melissa Costello, who also goes by Karma Chow, and she is a transformational eating coach, which is so exciting to me because I feel like I could talk about dieting, emotional eating, and all that stuff like all day long. And Melissa is a wealth of knowledge and has so many empowering tidbits and coaching techniques and so much great information. So I'm really honored to have her on the show today. I'm excited for you to watch and listen. Just a couple of quick reminders. If you're watching live and you want to throw up any questions as we are talking, please feel free. We're happy to answer them on the fly. This is a live broadcast after all. And if you are watching this on the replay, that's great. Feel free to leave comments as well. Make sure that you are subscribing. If you are watching this on YouTube, hit that little bell so you get notifications of latest episodes. I think I got all of the reminders in. It's always like that housekeeping stuff that I always forget the things. So Melissa, I'm going to let you tell us about yourself. But my first question, and then you can tell us about your give us your bio. What is your favorite song to dance to? That's what I really want to know.
Wow.
That's how we're starting this party.
Woo, you caught me off guard on that one.
It could be a genre. Right?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up in the 80s, so I love 80s music, and I also love hip hop music. So, you know, anything 80s or hip hop, I love to dance to. So.
Okay, well, just a little tidbit. I just had my 40th birthday, and it was an 80s dance party.
Oh my God.
I wish I would have known you were in there. So I think we're needing to have a little recap connection in person so we can have a little 80s dance party because
I agree. Whenever we play beach volleyball, we bring out the speaker and we play the 80s while we're out there playing.
Yes. It's so fun. I love it. That's so fun. So I want to hear about you. Tell me how you got started. Tell me about your background with transformational eating. And if you could actually tell us what that means, because I think that would be great.
Yeah, well, transformational eating, to me, it's really about transforming your relationship to food. Because so I grew up as someone who was an emotional eater, a yo-yo dieter. I had a total, you know, I was totally addicted to the feeling that sugar gave me. So I ate tons of sugar growing up. I had massive body image issues. And so all of that stuff kind of combined together, just really basically what it felt like is like I was imprisoned by food. Like food was my every thought. I was obsessed with it. I would regularly overeat. I would regularly diet. I would regularly over-exercise. So I kind of did the whole gamut with food. Sorry, guys.
Hey, it's real life.
I know. And the mailman just showed up. Usually comes. Sorry.
The fur baby wants in on the action.
Yeah, it's gonna happen. Whenever the mailman shows up, she goes crazy. So I apologize for that. I wish I could mute it.
All right.
Anyway,
the 80s jam.
Yeah, so I really grew up with this mindset of number one, a skewed body image. Number two, really struggling with food, feeling like I had so many rules around food. I had so much restriction around food. And that just really kept me in this obsessive place with it. And, you know, I was always really interested in eating healthy and being healthy. And so fortunately that worked for me. And I eventually got my certification in nutrition. And that was helpful because what that did was it really helped me learn about food in a different way. And I always wanted to be healthy, like physically, but I wasn't healthy mentally or emotionally around food. So I had a lot of hangups with my body and with just my eating and all of that, and really living in this place of all or nothing with food. Like if I don't eat perfectly, then what's the point? And I would just throw it all out the window. Then I'd start over every Monday. I'd make all those like silly promises to myself and, you know, with dieting and all of that. And so over the years, you know, I was a plant-based chef for a long time, and I worked strictly in nutrition with people, like giving them meal plans, doing cleanses. I don't even do any of that stuff anymore because I've transitioned for myself. And so I can't see me teaching my clients that stuff anymore, because what I learned is that a meal plan is not the answer. It's not the answer. Anybody can follow a meal plan, but if people are trying to be healthy and lose weight and keep it off, a diet and a meal plan is not going to do it.
That is so good. That's like,
yeah, I really had to teach people how to transform, and I had to do it myself, like really transform my relationship to food and the way I looked at food, and also my relationship to myself, because a lot of, like I said, a lot of it was driven by a skewed body image dysmorphia, basically.
right. So, and I can 100% appreciate that, because I've had a similar journey, and only knowing you, in the recent time, right? I see you as you are today. And, the first thought that kind of comes to mind, which maybe people say this to you or they think it, what are you talking about? You have a perfect body. You look amazing. You look healthy. How could you, Melissa, have any sort of body dysmorphia? What are you talking about? Right. So can you talk to us a little bit about where that came from, and maybe some of the causes or the triggers that you experienced in your own experience?
Yeah, so it started when I was about 12 or 13 years old, and my body started changing. And I also grew up at a time where, models, women's bodies, and they still are, but for some reason, when I grew up, it was so in my face. And I think it was because I had two older brothers. And so they were very much attracted to, the Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition. And then there was like Farrah Fawcett from the Charlie's Angels. And then there was, all these women who were, I used to have posters of Farrah Fawcett on my wall when I was a kid, because I wanted to look like her. I wanted to have her body. And I thought, if I have that body, my life will be great. Everyone will love me. I'll get lots of attention. And so that's where it started for me. It's like really seeing all the men in my life and all my brother's friends, looking at this magazine, at these women in Sports Illustrated swimsuit edition, and going like, wow, they're beautiful, they're amazing, they're perfect. They have, and in my mind as a young girl, I'm thinking, I need to look like that, because that's how I'm going to get value and love. So that's really where it started, like the craziness of it. And then when I was like 19 years old, I tried like a short stint in modeling, because I was like, I'm tall and maybe I could do it. And I remember they told me, number one, I was too heavy. I was too old at 19 years old, and I'm 5'11".
You're ancient, clearly.
I weighed like 124 pounds, and they were like, "You're too fat, you're too old," and I just, at that moment, I was like, "Screw this! Like, this is not right that women are talking to other women this way." Like I lived with that. I lived with body image dysmorphia for so many years, probably up until about 8 or 9 years ago, and I went up and down in my weight. I've been 30 pounds heavier than I am right now, and through the work that I've done, I've stayed consistent and I've kept the weight off that I lost, and I haven't gained it back in over 10 years. And that's because I transformed my relationship to food. So it doesn't matter what we look like, like you could be the skinniest person in the world and still have body image dysmorphia, because it has nothing to do with your body. It has to do with the way you feel about yourself and your value, right? Your worth and your value in the world. And I didn't have any. I didn't have any worth and value in the world in my own like projection of myself,
Right. Well, and I find that to be true for myself as well. It's like, I've had kind of similar comments, right? And I went through, I've done that 30-pound weight loss multiple times in my life, right? So that's like the ups, the downs, the yo-yo, the whole thing. Yeah. And it definitely, like, I don't know how else to say it, but it fucks with your head. Like, it's just, and if you can, wrap your brain around, okay, how do I stop turning to food as comfort? In fact, I hate that term comfort food. I don't know if you have thoughts about that, but I feel like when people look to food for comfort in any sense of the word, food is not the comfort. Like, what is the comfort that you're needing? Are you needing love? Are you needing physical touch? Are you needing time with somebody? Are you needing some self-care? Are you needing meditation? Like, what is it that you need? You don't need the food. Right. And I don't know if that's just, an American societal thing, or if it's, international, but I feel like in general, we're all kind of taught that food is this comfort that's there to make us feel good and like wrap us with a big warm hug. Right. But really?
Yeah. And we're also taught to reward ourselves with food. Like, I deserve this. Oh, I worked so hard. I deserve to drink and I deserve to eat crappy food. And I'm like, really? That's all you deserve? Like, in my opinion, it's, we don't reward ourselves with food. We're not dogs, right? It's like, food is meant for fuel and nourishment. And yes, you can get pleasure out of food, but when we're overdoing it, when we're using food as a source for something else, like what you're saying, then it ends up working against us. It ends up creating a lot of dysfunction in our relationship with it, you know, and I was doing that pretty consistently, just using food because I was lonely, you know, and I just felt like I would sit home night after night and I would just eat whatever wasn't nailed down because I had this like deep inner sense of loneliness and not feeling worthy in the world, you know, and so food became the thing that I leaned on at that time. And then all the extra weight comes on when you know, when I was doing that. So I had to really face my loneliness. I had to face my kind of my inner world and really take a deep, hard look at that and get really honest. Cause like, here I am a nutritionist and here I am teaching people how to eat healthy, but I have this dirty little secret that I'm home emotionally eating every night and no one knows what's going on. Right. And I'm literally so uncomfortable in my body. I want to crawl out of my skin, you know, and nobody like, and I'm smiling in pictures and everybody thinks it's great, but inside, like even now when I look back at pictures from 10 years ago, I'm like, oh my God, I remember that feeling like, I just felt so terrible inside. Like I felt so ugly and just all of it, you know, and, but nobody would have ever known that was going on. I was hiding it, you know?
Right. I'm curious, how do you, I know you said that you got into the nutrition certification because you wanted to learn more about food and you'd, had this interest in it, even if it had come from kind of a negative space. What do you think drew you to that professionally for so long, especially as you were dealing with, all of these issues and, I'll call it maybe imposter syndrome, right?
I think at the core of it, what drew me to it was if I eat healthy and get healthy, my body will look a certain way, right? So it was still driven by the madness of the body image stuff. But also, I grew up as an athlete. I was an athlete my whole life. I played sports. My family, we were all athletes. And I don't know, but for some reason, I was naturally drawn toward healthier food. I've always been that way. I gave up eating red meat when I was 19. I gave up eating pork when I was 16. I've like naturally gravitated toward healthy food most of my life. I did love sugar and I used to eat a lot of candy, but as I started getting older into my later teen years and early 20s, I was like, I want to be healthy. I want to live a long time. Like there was something in me. And I even started learning about holistic medicine at that age. And I'm 50. There wasn't a lot of that around, especially where I grew up in New Jersey. You know what I mean? So there was just something in me that was always interested in it. And thank goodness, because it led me down a really positive path, but it worked for me and against me in a lot of ways, because then I got even more obsessive, like, especially once I moved to California, I started learning about this whole other world of like raw food and veganism and all this stuff. And then I got so like strict where I was just like, even one of my friends, we went out to dinner one night. She's like, you're such a pain in the ass to eat with, It was like, I can't have this. I can't have that. I can't have this. I can't go there. I can't. Right. And it was just like this insanity around food all the time. And people had to like navigate around where I could and couldn't eat. And now people, I still eat vegan and people are happy to go eat vegan with me, but I'm not so strict where it's like, I have to go to this. Like I can always find something to eat no matter where I go. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Right. Actually, I was going to ask you now what your friends say when they're with you socially, are they like nervous about, ooh, can I order that? Cause she's watching.
Not anymore. I mean, probably like years ago, I used to be the food police, I was the food police and people were always nervous to eat stuff around me because I was a nutritionist and I was healthy. And I don't want people to feel that way around me. Like you do you, I'll do me. I'm not going to like, you do whatever you need to do for you. It's none of my business. And if you're having issues and you want help, I'll help you, but only if you ask, But I did used to be the food police, not for myself and others, and I used to judge people and look at like, oh my God, they're eating that, But that was learned behavior. And that was also my own fears. I had my own judgments around things and my own fears around things. And I just was projecting them onto people, So it's really changed over the years. Nobody really cares anymore. I'm not so like rigid anymore. I can pretty much go wherever and find something. Or I just eat separately. If I know I'm going to go somewhere and meet friends and like it's more of a casual thing, and I know there's not going to be anything there that I really desire, I'll eat before I go. And I'll just sit there with them. Like I don't care about that. I that doesn't bother me at all.
Right. It's not about the food. It's about the social time.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What, I was going to ask two questions. One is, what is your worst like binge or diet experience that you can recall?
I mean, binging. So I feel like I remember, when I had kind of a turning point, and this was probably about 8 years or so ago. And I was really low one night and I was sitting on the couch and I kept getting up from the couch and going from like the cabinet to the refrigerator to the cupboard and like I just kept eating things. And the whole time I'm like knowing that I don't want to do it, but I'm doing it and I feel really out of control. And, the truth is I always had healthy food in my house, but I would like bake cookies and like healthy vegan cookies and eat all of them and so like what it looked like was me just eating to the point where I was like so full up to here that I wanted to vomit, and I just hated myself. I was in so much self-loathing. And I don't even remember exactly what I was eating, but I know it was random things that I just couldn't get satisfied no matter what I ate. You know what I mean? And I just kept like filling my mouth with food and eating and eating and eating, trying to fill this like empty well. And I remember waking up the next morning and just literally feeling like so full of self-hatred. And I called one of my friends totally crying. And she was like, listen, you need to go get help. And she was like, Ann, you're being really self-centered right now. And when she said that, I was like, what? But it was like a slap in the face. And I was like, oh, you're so right. Like this issue and my body and all this is so minuscule compared to like what so many other people are going through. And I'm so freaking obsessed about it that it's like ridiculous, And when she said that, it was my wake up call. And she was like, you need to go get help. And then she said, and what I want you to do right now is stop feeling sorry for yourself and get up off the couch and go be of service. That's what she said. And I did. I literally walked, I got up, I got dressed, I went outside, I walked down the street, and I just started saying hi to people. And I just started like putting out energy to like connect with other people. And I swear it made me feel so much better. And then from that day forward, that's when I got help and hired a coach and just really got the support I needed.
Well, that was my second question, was what was like the pivotal moment. So there you go. But what an amazing friend to be that brutally honest with you. And can I meet her? Because sometimes I feel like I need that slap in the face. Although it's funny because I swear you're in my head right now, Melissa. I've been going through this personal evolution over the last couple of years myself. But most recently, I had a very similar conversation with myself where I was like, what the hell? Like, why is this such a big deal? Why does this matter? Why is this body image stuff so relevant and so important to you, meaning myself?
Right.
And it is a wake up call and I love how she said to you, not that you want to be selfish, but that you were being selfish, right? Because it's one thing to be selfish and to be aware, but when you start obsessing and taking it to this really negative place, when there's so much good that clearly you can give to the world through your energy and your positivity and your knowledge and all of it. So,
and so much good in my life, like just in general, like so much good in my life. Right. And here I am just like caught up in the madness around, my body and what I'm eating. And I have to look a certain way to be of value and of worth. And it's just bull, like we're taught it through society, and it's so not true. And I'm thankful it's starting to change, but it's still very much out there.
But do you think it's starting to change? So, I have a daughter, she's 9. And, ever since she was born, probably one of my biggest concerns is like, please do not let me impart any of my body image shit on her, and I really am cognizant of it. And I teach, all my kids, I have 2 boys also, but I teach them all, my husband and I, about nutrition in general and things that, I think our parents just didn't know. So no blame or anything like that. But, we teach them about macros, and we teach them how to read labels, and we teach them about eating whole foods versus processed foods. And just so they understand and they're not just mindlessly eating, right? Which, I've suffered from that for years. But what are you seeing based on your clients right now and the culture? Where do you think women stand in regards to body image and emotional eating and really truly understanding how to fuel their bodies and diet culture?
Yeah, I mean, it's still very much out there. It's always going to be out there. It's a whatever $1 billion industry. The diet industry is a multi-billion. yeah, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, and because it makes money off of people's failures, right? And as human beings, we're wired to want the quick fix. We're wired to like, oh, I'll go on the next diet, or oh, I'll stop eating this, or oh, I'll, get the next meal plan. And what I'm noticing is more and more women they want to be done with dieting. But the thing they don't know is how to bridge the gap between, not being on a diet and also being able to lose weight and change their relationship to food and what that looks like. They have no idea. But there's more seeds being planted around it. Mm-hmm. And it is, definitely wouldn't say it's more mainstream, but there's more seeds being planted around it. And, Nike just put a health at every size mannequin up in, I think, one of their stores. I guess they're called plus size. I don't know, but they put a bigger mannequin than what you would normally see. And so many people freaked out about it, saying they're promoting obesity and this and that. And it's like, we all have different body shapes and sizes, right? And we all genetically are different. Not one thing works for every person. And we have to find our own path. And of course, I don't promote obesity and I don't promote any of that. And I think that we're all so confused, and the diet culture creates that. You know what I mean?
Right.
And there was a big article in the New York Times that even the wellness industry is creating that as well. It's just diet culture,
Right. With a new name.
What's that?
With a new name.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. So I think it's, with Weight Watchers and Jenny Craig, and it's always going to be there. Right. But I think people who are on a personal growth path, who really want to be better in their lives, they're starting to see a different way, right? They know that dieting sucks. It doesn't work.
It does suck.
It's like punching yourself in the stomach every time you have to do it. I mean, when I think about it, I literally right? Like I literally get a pit in my stomach. Like, oh my God, if I ever had to go on a diet again, I'd want to shoot myself. It's horrible.
Right.
That's how it feels to me, because it puts us in survival mode. And then once we're in survival mode, then of course we're going to want the exact thing that we're not supposed to eat, and then we're going to go into that cycle, the pendulum swing and the deprivation and then the binge eating and the emotional eating. So it's starting to change, and I'm hoping there's more and more people like me out there. I'm hoping that, more of these seeds will be planted so that the trees can grow and that people can start to understand there's a different way,
Right. Right.
But,
well, and
it's not even about the food. It's about your internal journey. It has nothing to do with the food, but everyone thinks it's the food,
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say, and Cindy, who just commented, she said that we're bombarded by new diets all the time, which is so true, right? Yeah. There's always new, but back to your point about, everybody's looking for the quick fix, the magic pill. It's the same thing with, success in business. I mean, is it any different? Because people are like, how can I make a quick dollar? How can I make my million? How can I go viral on social media? How can I have this instant gratification, this instant success, this huge win without having to do a damn bit of work? And, same with the diets, right? It's like you could try all the diets and they'll work temporarily and then they won't work because like you said, it's not about the food. It's about the internal work.
That's right. That's right. And it's about your relationship with yourself, how you take care of yourself, what your belief system is, the things you believe about food, because again, we're wired, right? We're wired to believe, oh, that's good, that's bad, I should eat this, I shouldn't eat that. Food guilt and shame are huge in our society,
Yep.
and that just drives people to do it in hiding then, and so people are eating in secret. And I mean, I have so many clients who come to me and they're like, no one knows I do this, no one knows how much I struggle. And it's sad, it's really sad that food is what keeps us alive, and it's sad that we have all this dysfunction around it,
Right. So in your teachings, how do you start to empower women? Because, my mission in all things about women is about empowerment. But how do you empower them to stop being, as you said, imprisoned by food, but instead empowered by living a healthy lifestyle? What are some of the tools and techniques that you're teaching?
Yeah, I mean, it's different for everyone. And what I really start to do is look at, number one, where I really want to look at their overall life and see what's missing for them, right?
Mm-hmm.
So some women are in relationships that they don't want to be in. Some women are overwhelmed by their families. Some women are in jobs they hate. So I want to start to look at where are they not nourishing themselves, right? And you want to really pay attention to that, because life goes by so dang fast. And if we're not consistently filling our cup and nourishing ourselves, we're going to be turning to food or alcohol or drugs or gambling or whatever it is, right? Social media,
Right.
clicking out on our phones, like all that crap we do to just go mindless and numb out.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's really about taking a good hard look at your life, which can be scary for some people, you know.
Sure.
But once you start to do that, then you can start to put the pieces in place of what you need to do to build the kind of life that you want, so that food is not your crutch all the time.
Right.
You know? And so that you can create more peace with food, live more of a place of presence versus always, I got to start over tomorrow. I got to start over next week. I got to start a diet on January 1st. Like, we're always living in the future. We're always like trying to reach some goal. I tell all my clients, like, no weight loss goals. You're not allowed to have them, because half the people who have them have zero idea how to get from point A to point B, right?
Right.
They just have this idea of, oh, my daughter's wedding's in 4 months. I got to lose 50 pounds by then. How are you going to do that? And is that even realistic? Right? Without you pretty much starving yourself to death, which will then lead to the pendulum swing to the other side, you know?
Right.
So it's really about, let's look at your overall life. Let's see what pieces are missing. Let's see where we can fill in the gaps. Let's start to get your mindset in a different place, right? So that you're honoring yourself versus being afraid of yourself or criticizing yourself or not trusting yourself. So I really teach people how to build self-trust through the tools and strategies. Yeah.
Yep. And what kind of resistance do you get to that? I can imagine somebody coming to you saying, you know what? My daughter's wedding's coming up. I've got 4 months and I want to lose 50 pounds. Go. And you're like, no, sister, we got to slow down and talk about what's really going on. What's her response to you when you go with this alternative approach?
I really, if people come to me that strongly, I really won't work with them. Like, I'll just say, like, you're not ready for this work, you know? Because that's not something, I would never take a client on who says, you know, my goal with working with you is to lose 50 pounds in 4 months. I would never take that client on.
Yeah.
You know, so like, I have other clients who, of course, come to me and want to lose weight. And sometimes through our work together, they will, and sometimes they won't. And the ones who don't are always in such an empowered, different place that they're almost like, they don't care.
Right.
And they also know that they have so many positive tools and strategies, and their life feels so full in so many different ways that eventually, like, if the weight wants to release, it will, you know.
Right.
And that's kind of how it happens. It's like, our bodies will release weight when they're ready, not when we say so. Right.
Oh,
so
I love that.
yeah. Yeah. And the dieting, you know, it just goes against what our body can naturally do. And
Right.
I always believe, like, people are like, I just want to be my natural body weight. And I always say, like, well, if you have to diet to get there, that's not your natural body weight.
Right.
Right. So, I mean, of course, like, overeating, emotional eating, all that stuff comes into play. And when we're eating mindlessly and not paying attention and using food in an emotional way, you're going to gain weight. I mean, I put on 30 pounds doing it.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, you just will, because you're eating when you're not physically hungry, and then your body stores
Right.
those calories, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. What's your favorite? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just curious, like, what's your favorite kind of self-love tactic that you are teaching your clients when they're ready and open to this transformational process? You know, what are the things that you're like, you know, be consistent with this practice and it's going to really be transformational?
Yeah. Number one, like self-forgiveness is a huge one.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a whole kind of system around self-forgiveness that I was trained in and that I used in my own healing. And then also, you know, really being able to put rituals and routines into place that are nourishing, right? So every morning, my routine and my ritual is, I get up at 6, I make my tea, I sit down, I journal, I meditate, and I read, you know. And for me, that nourishes me on such a deep level, because I'm actually connecting to myself, and I'm connecting to spirit or God or whatever we believe in, right? I believe in just the universe and spirit. And so that's my time to connect.
Mm-hmm.
And that feels really honoring and nurturing to me, you know? And
Yep.
then as I'm going throughout the day, like what I tell my clients is, and my coach said this to me, you have to be the warrior guardian of your mind. Like you have to watch, like you have to stand at the gates of your mind and watch where you let your thoughts go, because that's where so much suffering happens for us as women, especially. We're so self-critical. We're so self-judgmental. So like really every time those thoughts come up, the best form of self-care and self-love is like redirect that into something that is present and something that is right in front of you. Like, wow, look at this beautiful view in front of me. Or wow, my dog is sitting right here. How grateful am I? Or, oh, wow, look where I get to live. Or I have a roof over my head, right? Like all the stuff that we take for granted. And like put your attention on those things. Or like, I have a healthy body. It may not look the way I want it to, but it's healthy. Or I have two legs to walk on. Some people don't even have that, you know? So like really bringing it to something that you can be appreciative of, about, especially about your body, and something in the moment that like really just brings you back to the present so that you're not spiraling down. You want to spiral up, basically.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love that. The warrior guardian of your mind. That's a good one.
Crazy? My coach said that to me one day and I was like, what? Like that is so, I imagine these like little soldiers standing there with their like armor on, and every time a thought, it's like, nope, not coming in, you know?
Right. Well, I mean, my morning ritual is very similar to yours, except I do coffee instead of tea. But, you know, it's amazing because I've been doing this for about a year and a half or so now, and being very consistent with it. And it's amazing how it has decreased my stress levels, you know, just my overall attitude, my anxiety. And it's amazing how, you know, we do have control. And I think that there's some people, women in particular, are resistant to accepting that there are ways that we can control, you know, our behavior, our anxiety, our issues, etc. But we really can. You just have to kind of slow down and take a moment and say, okay, how do I get to be, you know, the warrior guardian of my mind, and really like take back the control of me, right?
Yeah, because we cannot control anything outside of us. All we can do is, and I tend to not use the word control. I tend to use the word choose. We can always choose, right? In any given moment, we can choose what we think. We can choose what we do. You know, we can choose how we react. We can choose how we respond. So I really come at it from a place of choice versus like, I need to control. Because I believe that when we try to control things, they end up controlling us, especially with food, right? So, but yes, controlling those thoughts, like redirecting them, moving them, like just, you know, being in charge, right? It's like being in charge of your own thoughts, which is, that's like one thing that we can be in charge of, you know?
Right. I mean, and one of my taglines is be your own hero. So I mean, that goes along exactly with what you're saying, right? Because we choose how we live our day. Every day we choose. And sometimes we make better choices than others, and that's okay. Like we also have to have grace with ourselves. You know, we're not going to be perfect. I mean, I certainly have days when I'm not perfect in many ways, whether it's my parenting, my business, my eating, whatever. You know, there's lots of times that I'm not perfect, and that's, you know, I'm learning to be more accepting.
Well, hopefully you're never perfect, because it doesn't exist. You know, like no human being. I just, that's another word that I'm like, ooh, let's scratch that one out of the vocabulary. Because the only thing that's perfect is nature in its imperfection, right? Like nature will always do what it perfectly needs to do. And, you know, we as humans, we can never access that, right? It's just not available to us. And so we all have these ideas of what perfectionism is, but then that just keeps us in a trap, you know? And so many, and trust me, I'm a recovering perfectionist. I have like triple Virgo in my in my astrology. I mean, it's crazy, and it's just, it's a curse. And so like, the word perfect, I just don't even ever really, that doesn't cross my mind, but a lot of my clients have perfectionism issues, you know, where it's like, oh, I got to eat perfectly. I'm like, well, what does that even mean? Like who's standard? Like what does that mean? Right. Yeah.
I think a lot of women have perfectionism issues. And I think there's a lot of, you know, I think there's a lot of pressure, whether it's self-imposed, culturally, whatever, you know, we have to be perfect for whatever reason. And it's, you know, it sucks. And
it's so unrealistic.
It's so unrealistic.
I mean,
I'd rather be imperfect. Trust me. I'd rather be like a hot mess most of the time than, you know, in a fun way. You know, just be a little lighthearted, have fun, and not be so, restricted by these chains of what we think is perfection.
Yeah. And I really believe in authenticity, right? Like, I believe that instead of trying to be perfect, just be authentic. Like, that's what people really want, right? And so how can you show up as your most authentic self and, no matter what's happening, and just really, and even if that means someone's feelings might get hurt, or, but like being your authentic self versus pretending that, everything's great. I mean, it's like those couples you see and they're like, oh my God, their life looks great, everything's beautiful. And then all of a sudden you're like, what? They split up? What do you do? What? How did, right? Like from the outside, you just never know what's going on with people, but we make up all these stories,
Right.
And we're all human. Like we all have shit, and we're all sticky, and we're all just like trying to get through life, and it's like, I don't know. But with social media now, it makes it even harder because there's all that, now we're comparing and seeing all this like perfection in life, and it's just bullshit, Yeah.
I totally agree. And it's so funny that, here we are talking to a transformational eating coach about food, and we hardly talked about food, which is totally fun because, like you said, it's not about the food. But I do have a food question, which is, I've heard this many times over the years, because I don't have any certifications in nutrition, but I've been fascinated by it. So I've done a ton of reading over the years, kind of probably for very similar reasons, why you went down the path you did. And, I'm always curious about this idea of different food types for different body types or different people, and like eating different foods. Does it actually make a difference based on your body chemistry or physiology? I'm curious what your thoughts are on that, as in, are certain people meant to eat more a certain way than others?
I think so, constitutionally wise. Like for me, I can't eat meat, my body doesn't like it. I can't eat dairy. My body doesn't like it. So I think that it's not so much about about being on a specific diet with certain food types. It's about learning about your body, right? Mm-hmm. So like what feels good, what doesn't feel good. The things that don't feel good, that means your body doesn't like them, right? And so, I mean, I think that yes, as as humans, we metabolize a certain way, we methylate a certain way, and that stuff really can't be told. Like, it's just something that your body does. I mean, you can get blood tests around methylation to understand if you do methylate and you do absorb your nutrients. Mm-hmm. And you can understand how your body digests and how it breaks down by, do I have energy after I eat, or do I feel like crap? Am I run down? How do I feel in the morning? Like, there's so many different, like, our bodies are basically, they never lie. They're super wise. And so if we can just tune in to what we're doing and how we're feeling after we're eating certain things, like I can't drink coffee. Coffee, like it's just not good for me. I get anxious. I get sweaty. I get like, it kills my adrenals. So I've had to learn to, and it was really hard for me to give that up, but it's now I just don't even care because it doesn't feel good in my body. Right. And I want to, like, I think we all want to feel good in our bodies, but most of us are walking around feeling like crap and just putting a bunch of crappy food in our bodies and not really listening, So listen.
Yes.
And pay attention and be mindful. Like, how do I feel after I ate that big fat cheesesteak? Or how do I feel after I ate a kale salad? Or how do I feel, when I eat rice or gluten, or, like, it's just paying attention to that stuff.
Right. No, I think that that's such valuable information, Melissa. I mean, we do need to listen more. And the fact is, we get caught up in doing all the things, and we have so many demands on our time, which is great. But my message is always, look, you choose to have the demands on your time. So you also need to choose how to take care of yourself and how to slow down and step back and how to listen. So if you need to listen to your body about what foods make you feel good, how much sleep you need, how much water you need to be drinking, how to move your body, right? I mean, we didn't even talk about exercise, but I mean, it's really, I think that there's so many signs, and oftentimes instead of leaning in, we're fighting against ourselves. And if we can pause and listen and lean in, I think that, gosh, we would all be so much healthier, mind, body, and spirit.
Agreed. Yes. Amen to that. Amen to that. In every facet of our life.
Every facet.
Yeah.
Because it's all connected. There's not, it's not compartmentalized. obviously
No.
we're talking a lot about emotion, and we're here talking about food.
You and I speak the same language, sister. I love this. I love this.
Right.
I tell all my clients that I'm like, you cannot compartmentalize this. Like we're gonna dive into everything. We're gonna work mental, emotional, spiritual, physical. Like it's all, we have to look at it all, you know?
Right.
So.
No, this is awesome. Well, I feel like I could talk to you forever.
I know.
We're like new best friends, by the way.
I know. It's so cool.
Dance party and
I
all.
saw Shannon was online. Shannon.
Yes. I know. I love Shannon. She's so rad.
Awesome.
She's so awesome.
Oh, Shannon and I go way, way back. We used to live in San Diego together. We've known each other
Oh,
for
cool.
years. Yeah.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So, yep.
I love it. I love all these connections. Well, tell us more about how people can find you, how they can reach you if they want to work with you, what you're offering right now. I know you have a freebie available that you wanted to share with our audience. So take it away. Tell us all the things.
Thank you. My website is karmachow.com. I have a food freedom guide on there, and it's a guide with a 7-video series. So sign up for that. It's like right on my homepage.
Awesome.
I also have a private group on Facebook where you can come and get support. I do lives just like this. I do interviews. I do live teachings. It's called Food Freedom Breakthrough. So that's a great place to get support as well. And the mailman's coming and the dog's going to bark again. So Karma Chow everywhere, all social media channels. That's where you can find me. I also offer a free what I call an Empower Eating coaching session for people to apply if they're really interested in coaching, to see if we're a fit, to see if that's exactly what they need. And that's something that they can sign up for on my website as well.
Awesome. No, that's fantastic. Well, I'm so appreciative of you being, what is your dog's name, by the way?
Pumpkin.
Oh, Pumpkin.
Yeah. She this last month has been really hard on us. She had an emergency surgery, and they found a tumor. She had a seizure. So it's like, she's now recovering and finally getting back to herself. So I'm really grateful for that. So when she barks, it makes me happy because she hasn't been wagging her tail for a long time, and she's finally getting back.
Oh, well, we'll give Pumpkin a shout out for us. I'm glad she could be here too. But this is great. I'm so appreciative of your time, your energy, your knowledge. I mean,
I'm so grateful.
If one woman listens to what you had to say and changes one aspect of how she thinks about her relationship with food, we've done part of our job.
So work. Yes. Thank you so much for having me. I love what you're offering here, and just that you provide this platform and what you're bringing to the world too. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching. I'm so appreciative of you for being here on Sassy AF TV. Don't forget, we have episodes mostly every week. So make sure that you are tuned in on all places social, and stay tuned for our next episode coming up shortly. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you soon. Don't forget to stay sassy, healthy, and fit. Bye.